Hey everyone, Coach Evan here. Today I'm going to go over how to put together a $500 home gym. So working with athletes all over the place like I do, a lot of the times these athletes don't have gym memberships and they like to put together stuff at home, and it's a very common question I get asked. What should I have at home for a home gym and what's the best way to do it? So I'm going to go over a bunch of different items that equal out to be roughly about $500 to put together. Does sound like a lot of money, but when you factor in paying, $30, $40 a month for a gym membership over a year span, it equals out the same, give or take. But by doing this, these items are yours. You can move them around, and also you have the convenience of going into a room at home, going into the garage at home, and also you can always add to it and expand upon your equipment. Most of the equipment that we're going to go over does not include cardio equipment. Cardio equipment can be fairly expensive and a little bit harder to find. So if you're looking for cardio type stuff, I'll go over a little bit of what that can look like towards the end rather than getting cardio equipment. But we'll start things off with kettlebells. So kettlebells are always going to be a great go-to piece of equipment that I personally enjoy, and I also enjoy programming in for athletes to use because the kettlebell is very versatile and can be used for a bunch of different things. So to start, it's really good to get a heavier one. So I have a 45-pound Yes for All kettlebell, which is on Amazon for $57. So per pound of price, 45 pounds for $57 is a pretty good price, keeping at just about that like over $1 per pound price. If you go on to some of these other sites, bigger name companies and stuff, and they sell their kettlebells, not only are you going to find them to be more expensive, you're going to find the shipping for them to be pretty expensive, except for a couple of the sites that do ship for free with the weight, because shipping heavy pieces of metal does cost money, of course. But if you have an Amazon account, that helps out because you can get the free shipping and stuff like that. So having a heavier one, 45 pounds, is going to be great for lower body motions, deadlifts, kettlebell swings, whether the swing is a Russian swing only coming up to about shoulder heights or American swing going overhead. You can also do cleans and a lot of rotational stuff with the heavier kettlebell, goblet squats. So there's a big assortment of exercises for the lower body with that heavier one. Now, I also put on here a 25-pound Yes for All kettlebell, also on Amazon, at $32. So the little bit lighter one, we can start to work into like some single arm movements, single arm swings is going to be a good one, but you can also, if you're new to the kettlebell, it at least lets you get a little bit more into it. But the lighter 25 pounds, you can also resort into doing things like Turkish get-ups, which is a great exercise, a little complex, but is a great exercise to do. So the lighter kettlebell, at least until you get better at them, is a great place to start. It also allows you to do more upper body motions, whether you're holding a kettlebell in a backhand position, which is the most common position, a ball in hand, position, or a bottoms up. For somebody that's a little bit new to the kettlebell, bottoms up position with a 45-pound kettlebell is not going to be easy to do. So you at least have the ability to have a heavier one and also a lighter one, and also for a pretty good price. Moving on, this is our dumbbell set. So all of these are pairs, looking at a pair of 2.5-pound dumbbells, 5-pound dumbbells, 10s, 15s, and 20s. Okay, most of the smaller dumbbells, of course, are going to be for more of the upper body, but it's important to have lighter ones because there are exercises like outreaching exercises, ITYs, reverse flies, stuff like that, that do require lighter weights. And typically when done with heavier weights, it's really hard to keep form and engage the proper muscles and everything like that. So it's important to have those lighter weights, being the 2.5s and the 5s, to accommodate for those motions. Of course, once we get into the 10s, we can start looking at more like presses, rows, single arm or both arms at the same time. And then of course 15s and 20s allow for more progression and also some movements with the lower bodies working into like RDLs, single leg RDLs, walking lunges, Cossack squats, and a bunch of different stuff like that. So really nifty to have a plethora of dumbbells. These dumbbells for a pair, so we're getting 5 different pairs for the price of $178. This is the bulk of that $500. So this is also through a company that I like to use is Kilo Flex. They're local to my area. So for me, I can go pick those up no shipping costs whatsoever. So that stays true to the 178. If you're having them shipped, that does actually throw off our total value there, and shipping will cost more money. But if you want to go through the hassle of searching on Amazon for different dumbbells, it can be a little bit challenging because Amazon dumbbells get a little bit harder. But actually looking on Amazon, when I was searching, I found that these 10-pound dumbbells cost more on Amazon than they do from KiloFlex. So it's a little bit of a give and take. So if you want to go through the hassle of looking through Amazon for dumbbells, you might have to get mismatched ones, and it might save you some money. But this does not factor in the shipping cost that potentially would come to a person depending on location. You can also look for local places that distribute dumbbells in your area to save on shipping as well. I just use that because that's local for myself here in the Pacific Northwest. Moving on, we have mobility bands. Now this is just a brand, Leaky. This is just a brand off of Amazon. It is nothing significant. I am not familiar with this brand. However, the reviews look pretty good on them. Very positive stuff. The thing about buying equipment on Amazon, if I were to be putting together a gym like I'm in right now, I absolutely would not be buying my equipment off Amazon, because that equipment is not going to withstand multiple uses on multiple days, every single day of the week. But for personal use, you use it 5 times a week compared to the 100 times that's going to get used in the gym. It's going to wear out really quick in the gym, break, and I'm going to have to buy something new. So that's going to not be great for gym use, but for home use, Amazon equipment like these mobility bands can be pretty helpful. So this was a pack of 4 different resistance mobility bands. And when I say mobility bands, I'm talking about monster bands. So big, long ones. We can do a bunch of different things from, of course, mobility drills, but you also can use them for resistance exercises, and you can use them lower body as well. So there's a lot of different uses for it. And when we get to the pull-up bar, it can also be help for assisting with pull-ups. So that came out to $32, and that shipping is free. So we're staying pretty good on that. Moving on, we got the Marcy flat bench. So that's on Amazon. Actually, those are the benches I have sitting right next to me, is these Marcy ones. And benches are benches. You do want them to be stable, and you do want to make sure they have a good solid base, because you don't want to lie down and do a chest press on something that's not going to hold you up. And you also don't want something that's just going to break in a month as well. So I can actually speak upon this brand because I've seen them in multiple gyms now, and they withstand wear and tear pretty well. So the Marcy is just a normal flat bench. There's no adjustments to it. If you wanted to make adjustments, you can prop it up, but it's going to just stay flat. Not many exercises really do require like an incline, unless you're doing an incline bench, which at that point you have a bench for one exercise. So flat bench, much more useful. That comes in at the $69. Not too bad, actually. Benches can be pretty expensive. So $69 is pretty good. These benches work great. Moving on, a Yes for All, once again, another one of those brands. So this brand's pretty popular on Amazon, it seems. Plyo box. So this is a 16 by 14 by 12. So it's not going to be your typical pretty big plyo box, which typically is going to be 20 by 24 by 30. So 30 inches coming up pretty high. I can't do a ton with 30 inches for most people. Yes, athletes can jump on top of it, but that's about it. So what we're trying to do with this equipment is get equipment that is multifunctional and not just for one single thing, because if you're doing stuff at home, that can be a waste of money to spend for one thing. So we want to get something that can be multi-purpose. So we do want a box, though, because you can do things like step-ups, of course, and you can use it for propping up different positions, and a plethora of different step-ups, forward, backwards, side, cross, all over the place. And also it is sturdy enough to jump onto. Yes, it's not super high, but in actuality with plyometrics, you can get plenty of plyometric work without a box. You don't need a box to jump on to train plyometrics, of course. So having a box to jump onto, we don't need the big one. This 16 by 14 by 12 is going to be plenty. Yes, it is going to be smaller, of course, but it will withstand the use. That comes in at $50. It does require assembly. It's going to come flat in a box, so there's a little bit of assembly to that, and you want to make sure you assemble it pretty good, because if you're going to jump on something, you don't want it to break when you jump on it. Next is a CR Fitness suspension trainer. So this is just a TRX, okay? So TRX is simply just a brand. It's kind of like Kleenex. That's just the brand. So we can call it a TRX. It's not a TRX, it's a suspension trainer, but it's exactly the same. So this is, something we can hook up into a door. It does come with a door mount. It also comes with a band to wrap around something, clip on it, so we can do things like rows, flies, presses, and it's all body weight because suspension trainers are stiff, they're not stretchy, so it allows us to do a lot of great pulling motions with our own body weight. Very multi-dimensional. Once again, sticking with the multi-dimensional exercises. I personally have one of these suspension trainers that is not a TRX, and it has lasted 5 or 6 years. They are durable, so you can do a lot of good stuff with it. There's a lot of different training. I definitely, if my athletes have access to one, I use it quite frequently to train their programs and everything like that. That comes in at $55, very reasonable. A TRX itself is like $200. So you're buying the brand. That's all you're doing. The piece of equipment is very similar. TRX has one patent to it, and it's very simple, so it's easy for these other companies to work around and have the exact same product, just removing the one patent position there. So last thing is a doorway pull-up bar. Notice I am not saying that because I am not sure how to say that. But the doorway pull-up bar, this is not one that wedges itself in the doorway. More so, this is one that actually like hooks around the frame and kind of actually Loctites its way in there. I have one at home. It works fabulous. I put some tape on it just because it's a little more comfortable for my hands. Good athletic tape, of course. But this type of doorway pull-up bar is going to be much more secure than just the door jam where you jam it into each side of the door. Then you hope that it can hold your body weight. That's not a very great design. I've never seen those work very well. However, I personally have had this for many of years. It's great for, even if you can't do pull-ups, you can do hanging exercises off of it, which is really helpful, obviously lengthening the spine, but also engaging muscles as you would in a pull-up if you can't do a pull-up yet. But I did mention with these mobility bands, there's way to do assisted pull-ups because you can hook your band on it, which then can assist your body weight in the pull-up. And that's also a great way if you want to do like any overhead pull-down motions. You put your pull-up bar in the door, hook your band onto it, then you're able to do some pull-down motions. So now we have full dimension of horizontal and vertical movements as well, which is great. And this comes in at $29. That's actually pretty cheap because this is a pretty simple piece of equipment that just locks into the door. But it allows for overhead positions and overhead pulling positions to be achieved, which is important when we're talking about all the different motions that can be done within a program. So like I said, this all came out to roughly $500. So this was $502 if we add this all together. That is minus any shipping that might occur with the dumbbells. Like I said, you're free to check out and find any dumbbells on Amazon that might work for you, or look locally to you and get away from the shipping cost as much as possible. But for a home gym, $500, this is fabulous. There is no cardio equipment with this. Cardio equipment is likely going to be pretty expensive. Sometimes you can find rowers or bikes for a little bit cheaper, of course, but I want to leave that stuff out because in actuality, doing cardio work, you don't need much equipment. You can go for a run. If you're unable to run, you can go walk uphill. If you're unable to go outside because the weather's not great, there's things like jumping jacks, there's things like jumping lunges, speed skaters, mountain climbers, burpees. There's a lot of movements you can do for cardiovascular work that don't require any equipment at all. And not to mention, we're adding in these kettlebells, and kettlebells you can do a lot of good cardio transitional work with. So getting a bike, great if you have one already, or if you can find one for a decent price, that's great. But I wanted to leave it off here because it just makes that access just a little bit harder, and also it would have taken up probably all over $500 if it was on there, and then this video wouldn't be talking about very much. So going through this is great. If somebody had this at home, I personally, as a coach, programming for athletes, allowing them to train, this would allow me to put together a very solid foundation for them to do all their training at home, not even have to go to the gym or pay for gym memberships, which makes it really easy for them to wake up in the morning, do their stuff, get it over with, and move on with the day and not have to do 30 minutes to the gym, and also the potential of having to wait for people at the gym. So 500 bucks, not too bad. If you have any questions, comment below. Otherwise, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.